All right, I want to call this Monday, March 18th special school board meeting to order. First thing on our agenda today is to approve the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the March 18th, 2024 agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Hurst. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Cave. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion passes 5-0. At this moment, we will observe a moment of silence. Thank you so much for your goodness and your grace. God, I ask you to give us wisdom beyond our understanding. God, thank you for giving us the wisdom that we don't know, knowledge. We give you the honor and the glory and the praise, and thank you, Lord, for it. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. At this time, I ask if you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Dr. Shiflett, thank you for being prepared tonight or today and giving us an update on this budget.
All right. Greg, is this thing on? All right. Very good, sir. Chairman Cross, members of the board, guests, I'd like to present this afternoon my recommendation for the 2024-2025 budget. Some priorities in this budget that I'd like to highlight before I start the presentation. Number one, school safety. Big priority for myself as well as the school board members. Also, employment, recruitment and retention. So making sure we retain our good people and recruit and attract others. Additional support for EL and special education. We've had about a 14% increase in our EL population and special education population within the last year. We had some adjustments for redistricting to relieve some of the overcrowding at Cub Run. And then as always, part of this process is the collaboration with the Rockingham County staff and their leadership team. I want to give kudos to Stephen King, Trish Davidson, Casey Armstrong, the work we've done with us. And also we had an opportunity for a liaison committee meeting with Mrs. Layla Longcore and also with Mr. Rick Chandler. And so continuing to build that relationship between the Board of Supervisors and the county schools is very important. So we want to recognize that was all part of sort of the priorities of this budget. So I have the clicker here now, Greg. I just discovered this, so thank you. So our funding basically comes from three main areas. And you can see this is sort of a graph, a pie chart of this current year that we're in, 2024, and you can see about 53% of our funding is generated from state revenue, about 4% from federal, and then the localities pick up 42%. And there's about 1% of just sort of miscellaneous revenues that we gain. So based on my recommended budget for 25, you will see that there is a decrease in the state revenue down to 51%, federal revenue down to 3%, which means that we'll need a bigger increase and more support from our local, for the local government to pick up some of the additional burden. So that will be a little bit of a change. There was a significant decline in state revenue for RCPS, and I want to talk a little bit about why that is and what we've tried to do to alleviate some of that stressors. So I guess I don't know if it's really good news, but we have been down this path before. So after the Great Recession of 2008, there was some significant budget cuts. We had a decrease of over $3.5 million in the 2009-2010 fiscal year. would have been over 4.5 million, 4.7 million, except we did have some one-time stimulus funds. So we have been here before where we've seen a budget shortfall. Why the budget shortfall? It has to do with the local composite index. So the local composite index is referred to as the locality's ability to pay. This is a formula used by the state to determine the ability of the local government of each county or city to fund public education. It is computed using various metrics. One of those metrics is the true value of real estate in your locality, the average adjusted gross income of the residents, and the taxable retail sales of the locality. So these metrics are then compared to the state as a whole, and localities are given a composite index as to how they rank against other localities. So what happened for us is our real estate values. We had an assessment conducted by a third party, and our real estate values increased. So when we compared ourselves to other localities across the Commonwealth, it appeared that we have more ability to pay. So I can show you what those numbers sort of look like. So the composite index that we had for 22 and 24, we were at 0.3679. We ranked 74 out of 134 school divisions, so sort of in the middle of the pack. And then with the new composite index, it jumped to 0.4349. We moved up to 98th. This was the sixth highest change among the 134 school divisions. So it was a pretty significant change. Again, it changed our composite index, which then basically says to the state, from the state, you will get less money from us. Now, if all else was equal, nothing else changed, that would be about a $6.5 million shortfall, if nothing else changed, right? We did get some additional revenue from some other categories, which helped offset that. But that's just kind of where this shortfall is coming from. So if people ask or say, why are we short dollars? It has to do with the composite index, and we have this for the next 2 years. So I want to look at expected revenue. So we talked about that little 1%, less than 1%, the miscellaneous. There is a bit of a decrease that we anticipate in non-resident tuition and then demand response. So we get a small portion of money each year to participate in sort of a Eastern Coast initiative to preserve energy in case there is a crisis. And so once a year, we have to demonstrate that we can cut our demand for electricity. So we turn back our HVAC systems, and we scale back, and that says, hey, if we needed to, really preserve the grid, we can do so. So we get some kickback from that. That will be reduced a little bit next year, not as much as we had thought, but it's only $23,000. State revenue, we base this budget on the House version. Currently, the budget that went to the governor for his signature has not been signed yet, and I would anticipate we will probably be totally finished with our budget process before we have a state budget. The budget that went before the governor's desk did have some more dollars in it, but we used the House version, which didn't have as much money coming to us. So there is some hope that we'll get a few extra dollars. But based on the House version, there's a 3% raise for employees, but this is a decrease of over $2.6 million. Okay, the governor's budget that he proposed would have had a 1% bonus and about $4.4 million shortfall. So from the state side, we're getting less revenue. From the federal, we're also getting less revenue, as was indicated in our little pie chart, over $1 million. There was an increase in Title IV, a decrease in Title I, and then all the federal ESSER programs are complete. So that those dollars are no longer available. The local share of education from our County Board of Supervisors, $79,866,510, and an increase of $6 million. So our total budget will be $176 million, round up 0.4, and is an increase of $2.2 million. I want to talk a little bit about where some of this, how we're kind of able to balance these numbers. So talking about priority, school safety. So in this budget is 4 school resource officers at the middle school, 4 school resource officers at the elementary school, 1 safe school coordinator, and a school safety app. Now, we currently have the 4 school resource officers at our middle schools, but they're grant funded. That grant is expiring in June 30th. So we'll have to pick those up in the budget. Again, hoping to get 4 more. But we did write a grant with the county administrators to see if we could secure grant funding for the 4 middle, 4 elementary, and the safe school coordinator. We won't know that probably till May or June. But hopefully, if it is grant funded, I think they're 2-year grants, maybe 3 years, we would have those dollars. But keep in the back of our minds, if we would get grant funding, let's say for the 4 elementaries, in a few years from now, we got to make sure we get that money back in the budget. And then the school safety app would be an ongoing fee that we would pay yearly. It would be an app that our employees would have access if there was ever an intruder or some dramatic incident. They could easily and quickly get support. So that would be ongoing as well, and I think that's under $40,000. But that's part of part of our initiative about school safety. Some other expenditures when we talk about employee recruitment and retention. So this is a 3% raise in the salary scales, not necessarily the hourly rates, and that's approximately $3.7 million. And then an increase for the master's degree supplement, about $195,000. There's a correction to the mechanics scale. So we did a comparison with surrounding school divisions and discovered that our mechanics were underpaid compared to others in this area. So we want to make sure we kind of bring them in comparison and give them an attractive salary. And then increasing hourly substitute rate from $13 to $14 an hour. In January, I think the minimum wage goes to $13.50. The following year it goes to $15. So we're trying to get halfway there on that. Some additional expenditures, and some of this is related to the redistricting of students and some of the special ed and EL needs we discussed earlier. 1 assistant principal. This was formerly paid with ESSER funds, which is no longer available. Some elementary teachers, 8 elementary assistants, 1 early childhood special education teacher and assistant to start a new program, 3.5 Title I and TLC assistants, 1 SPED teacher and 2 assistants, a 0.5 SPED assessment facilitator, 6 EL teachers, 3 EL assistants, 2 EL liaisons, and 1 supervisor of ADs, along with some custodians, admin assistants, PT, hourly assistants, and some FCS contract changes. So that came up to those increases, $2.2 million. So again, back to our total budget, $176 million. So to make this happen with the budget shortfall, we had to do some internal adjustments, right? Because we have some shortages, so we had to make some adjustments. And we looked at maintenance, we looked at transportation, technology, there were some cuts, sorry Greg, instructional operating expenditures, some instructional software, instructional PD, some administrative costs, academic support, some vacant positions that we've decided just not to fill, and then some repurposing of positions. And that in total, those reductions, $4.2 million, right, to get us back to that zero amount. So if this budget is passed, we will be requesting to our Board of Supervisors an increase of local dollars for $6 million. So our total request will be $79,866,510 to the Board of Supervisors. So that's our operating budget. And then just to highlight some of the capital projects we have happening, we have some revenue coming in from City of Harrisonburg towards MTC, plus transfer from the county to our general fund. Some of the capital projects, Broadway High School addition that we'll be finishing, Elkton Elementary School renovation, and then Massanutten Technical Center, we're beginning to do the design work, and then also looking at McGaheysville, again, design work, not actually starting the work. And then in terms of cafeteria fund, which is separate from our operating budget, they're looking at some state revenue, $179,800, 4.6 from federal, food served, 784, other 135,000, commodities, 590. Some highlights here. That's the revenue coming in. The expenditures, obviously, compensation and benefits, over $3 million. Food supplies and materials, over $2 million, and then purchase and repair of equipment, so over $6 million. So they would balance their budget. The adult breakfast would increase in price from $2 to $2.50. Adult lunch from $3.75 to $4.50. And then there's also consideration for the compensation for their employees as well, the 3% raise. And then thinking that J. Frank Hilliard and Linville Edom Elementary School would be added to the community eligibility provisions, where students would get free lunch at those schools. So that's just a quick snapshot of what's happening with food service. Next steps would be at the Monday, March 25th meeting, your vote to approve the budget, and we'll be at the Rockingham County Administration Building for that meeting at 7 o'clock. And then on Wednesday, March 27th, I will present this budget to the Board of Supervisors at their meeting at 6 o'clock at the county office building. And as I mentioned earlier, state budget may not be finalized by then, but we feel very confident that we use the House version, which we feel like would be a bare minimum. There could be some extra dollars that we could receive. We'll have to see how that gets negotiated at the state level. Want to shout out a few thank yous for this. Justin Moyers, Chief Financial Officer, he spent hours crunching these numbers and trying to make sure we could balance, and as well Zena Gillis, Supervisor of Finance, who helps him. I think maybe she does most of the work. He just says, Zena, go run these numbers. And then Brenda Buell, the financial administrative assistant. And then I also want to say thanks to each board member, because we started these conversations with some of you back in the fall, maybe November or December. We sat down and said, hey, what are your priorities? We want to start thinking ahead, right? And then after the election and when the new board came, we're starting having these conversations. What's going to be the priorities? And then we had some 2x2 meetings, and then some liaison meetings, and then some more 2x2 meetings, and then some one-on-one meetings. And so it's been a lot of work to get to this place here. But I feel like we're in a good spot, again, considering that we had the reduction in state revenue that we were kind of used to getting. It dropped on us. I think outside of that, we've done pretty well. And I think in some ways it's nice, not that you always want to be, stretched, but it does force you to kind of look at what you're doing and look at your processes and see where you could maybe do things better or do things differently. So any questions from board members?
Members, we have any questions for Dr. Shiflett? We just want to say thank you for the time that you put in as well on this. And you did ask us at the very beginning, what was important to us, and as the new board came on, and I think our answer back to you was we want to do what's best for Rockingham County Public Schools, and so that was really our number one goal in coming into the budget. And so thank you guys, thank you Justin, thank you for everyone that you just mentioned. Thanks for helping on this, and I know it takes a lot of time, effort to do this, so appreciate all the work you put in, Dr. Shiflett, for this.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Board members, we do have reason to go into closed session. Do I hear a motion to go into closed session?
I move that the board enter a closed meeting pursuant to the provisions of Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711 A1, to discuss and consider personnel, prospective candidates, including general legal counsel, for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees.
Thank you, Mrs. Cave. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Any questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All opposed, no. We are now into, motion passes. We are now into closed session.